It's great.
It's fucking terrible. I'm gonna move us to the thing.
Yeah. There's so much. It's so funny.
Why are they like this? Like, genuinely, I had 2 podcasts planned before this that I just never got around to making. And I'm so far behind. I'm at the point now where I'm so far behind on shit, like, it's depressing to even consider moving forward. So I actually do need to play Nier after this, so I can have stuff for it. And that's not your fault. There's literally no one's fault but my own. Really, this is the truth of the matter. But anyway, whenever you're ready.
I'm good.
Alright, this is a podcast. What's up? I don't even remember the opening to my podcast. Would you believe that?
Oh,
I don't know. So what happened today? Well, you wanna broach what happened today?
we got 3 amazing announcements. Not even announcements.
This whole week for fucking announcements has been trash.
Sony
it got
was
worse.
yes.
Sony was a waste of time.
I don't think Nintendo's thing was bad.
Yeah, like I said, I give it a 7.
Is a fucking joke.
I give it a 7. Nintendo's. I mean,
Nintendo was good.
I thought that they genuinely announced most things. Like, it makes sense now why they didn't talk about Snap, right? Like, it's like, okay, we're gonna have a Pokemon thing, and that's like a major element of the Pokemon thing. So that made sense, right? Like, I'm not opposed to that.
But Pokemon is never gonna be in the main stage anymore. They're gonna have
its own stage, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
stage that they
don't deserve.
They haven't cleaned in. How long has it been since Black and White 2?
I know I'm critical of Pokemon, and I know a lot of, like, Pokemon.
Actually, Pocket was good.
Yeah, Pokemon has a big fan base, right? And I know I'm critical of Pokemon, and the problem with Pokemon and being critical of it is that, and there's no real way to sugarcoat this, and I know that I'm gonna sound totally guilty because I totally have done this before in the past. Is Pokemon has a fan base of largely consumers who will just kind of show up and buy whatever they put out just because they put it out. And I know, like I said, there's no way to sugarcoat that. Like, you can't really go back from that statement, but it's the truth of the matter. Because objectively speaking, the stuff that they do with Pokemon and the stuff that they did to it, even as far back as like 2016, is just not nearly on the same level. Or, I'm sorry, when was our ass? 2014? Oh God, that's 7 years ago.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah,
no,
oh my.
That long ago.
Yeah, it was fall. It was like October, so like 6.5 years ago. The stuff that they did is just like objectively like bad, and I don't see it getting any better. And I think let's
put some structure. Let's go in order. Let's go in order of the Pokemon Snap. Bandai Namco. I mean, if as long as they keep the original intent of Snap, which was take pictures and do some puzzles to get better pictures. Fine. Puzzles, as long as there's puzzles that are somewhat thought out, it's fine. Looks really good. Made by Bandai Namco. Like, so it's gonna be something.
I don't have anything bad to say about it. Like, I think it's 60.
It's probably 60. Everything's 60.
Everything's 60.
As long as it's, replay. Snap was very small even for its time.
So yeah, 60.
Yeah, it's
New
fine.
Pokemon Snap.
Again, Snap, the original Snap was very small even for its time. So if this one's a full-length, game with good puzzle elements, because that's what Snap had, puzzle elements. Oh, how do I make this? Turning the Charmeleon or the Charmander or Charmeleon into a Charizard, getting the Magikarp up the waterfall, etc., etc. Like, these are little things, but I mean, Bandai Namco's better than Game Freak. That's a fucking fact.
I mean, just look at the game, right? Like,
yeah.
Just look at the fucking game. Like just showing off Pokemon Snap, you could see the water effects. Pokemon are what you would actually expect them to be, the right size on. They're interacting with stuff. Like, obviously, it's not meant to be in a battle sense, right? But like, for the most part, like they have like basically they could simulate like a natural Pokemon environment, which in and of itself is kind of an accomplishment. But what I'll say about that is, like, when throughout all of Let's Go, right? Like, when Let's Go came out, it was meant to be sort of like, a unique art style and stuff like that. And they said, the general gist that everyone felt that I talked to was that Let's Go is the beta. It's like, it's not, you know, it's like meant to be.
It's them getting comfortable with the Switch,
figuring out what they want to do for the at the time unnamed Pokemon Star or whatever Switch games.
Yeah.
And then Pokemon Sword and Shield comes out, and I almost can't even believe that's the sequel. Like, I said that Odyssey to Valhalla was like a downtrod. Like, I would have thought that Odyssey would have taken 2 years to make and not Valhalla. Like, just even looking, like, at least Valhalla looks better than Odyssey in a lot of ways. But, like, just looking at Sword and Shield compared to Let's Go is just a depression. That's before we get into the cut Pokedex, the bad frame rate, the shitty trees and the graphics. Like, it's a PS2 game pretending to be a modern game.
I have completed the main game.
Oh, that was fast.
Sword and Shield. Well, here's why it was fast. Without much, I mean, the only grinding I did, if you want to call it that, was anytime I saw one of those pillars in the wild area where there was a
beam
raid battle or whatever, I would do it. Which wasn't that much, but they gave you XP candies. So very, very easy to level up. So also, in every other Pokemon, there was always like a side thing, like Team Rocket, Team Plasma,
Team Skull, yeah,
just something else going on. Even though this had Team Yell or whatever, they were still part of the gym challenge. That's all they were.
Not only that, they're not even like trainers. Good final bosses.
No, they're not. They're not even a final boss.
It's the other one.
The final boss is still Leon.
Even, the Rose Foundation or whatever the fuck.
He's a Steel type user exclusively. Why would he be a Steel user? Point is, there was nothing on the side, so you could finish the game super quick. It was just go to gym, go to gym, go to gym, go to gym, go to gym.
Leon will do all the important story events like Dynamax Pokemon breaking out. He's like, yeah, just focus on the gym shit.
Also, it's so stupid that I can't Gigantamax at all in that game. Like, there's no way for me to do it unless I go into a max raid battle. But again, just finished it, so now I have a much clearer picture of what that game is. And as much, it's shit. It's shit with one exception. I really kind of dig the new Pokemon designs. They're fucking
dope. Some of them are really nice.
They're so cool. I'm like, oh man, that looks cool. I want it. But
some of them are, but they're hit and miss, right? Like every generation's kind of hit. Like some of them are just like really cool looking, and some of them are like, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, a lot of them are fine,
yeah.
But for the most part, I think design-wise, Gen 8 is one of the better ones.
Yeah, I could agree to that.
Pokemon designs are very good in that. So
maybe not the starters this time around, in my opinion, but you know, in general.
Yeah, Sobble. Water gets cut again. Literally,
water is. I mean, Primarina wasn't bad. Like I could live with a Primarina.
Like, Primarina was like, all right.
It's middle of the scale.
Thing. That's the most feminine Pokemon starter ever. Like,
I got a male femur.
Like, it's just the most feminine one. I do like that. I do like that they had the secondary triangle.
Yeah.
In that gen, I prefer when there's a secondary triangle.
It felt like they tried more to have like unique Pokemon. Yeah.
Problem was, Decidueye is God. So
Decidueye just looks cooler, and
he's
just
badass.
It has good moves. I mean, even not competitively, I think it's the worst. But just for playing the game, it's just more fun.
It's just the coolest one.
And like, I felt like they just tried more with the Ultra game. Or I refer to Ultra. I mean, I know Sun and Moon was the main attraction.
I didn't even play the regular one. I only played Ultra.
Yeah, Ultra is better, except for a couple story things which they changed. I'm not a fan of. Ultra generally was kind of better, but like. I feel for Sword and Shield, right? It was like you look at it, just looking at it when it came out, right? I was like, okay, when they debuted it, I should say, that E3 or whatever. Like, okay, graphically, this is not the fucking the slam dunk at all, and graphically, it's not going to be fucking amazing. But whatever, like it's gonna have all the stuff. It's gonna improve on it. It's gonna bring it to the Switch, and then you come and you find out no Mega Evolutions, no Z moves, half the Dex is cut.
So this. All right,
no post game,
no Z's, and now we have this dumbass Dynamax.
And Dynamax is the new thing.
If I truly think
moves cut, TM list reshuffled.
The Diamond and Pearl remake will have no It will not have Dynamax. It will not have Mega.
Yeah.
This is my prediction. I do not believe they will have Megas either. I don't believe it'll have Z's,
I think
Megas,
it'll have
or
493.
I think it'll have none of them. I think it'll be exactly. I think it's going to be a 1-to-1, and it's going to be kind of ass.
But the thing about it is, like, if it's 493, which was how much the original Diamond and Pearl had, plus forms and all the other stuff, like, there needs to be a way to import those Pokemon that did exist that just don't naturally appear in the Sinnoh region. Because I believe the unexpanded Sinnoh Dex is like 220 or something. It's like 200, 210 or something. I don't know without looking. And then they expanded it in Platinum because a lot of, you know, hilariously, there are 5 fire types in the Sinnoh Dex, and only one of them is a not starter line. So
you said it was Ponyta?
Ponyta,
right?
Ponyta and Rapidash are the only non-fire, and like, not to shit on them, but that's not a great fire type.
Their moves are bad and their stats are bad.
Yeah, like, you're not gonna be and it's funny because they have Flint, who is a Elite Four member in that game, who's fire type, and his team is like mixed in Diamond and Pearl because there just aren't enough fire types. So they added in, I forget what it was, like, you could look it up. It's like they added in the Evolutions, right? So Flareon, like, this dude literally has every fully evolved fire type in that game because there's just not enough fire types. There's a ton of water types. Like, if he was a water type kind of guy, it would have made a little more sense. But
yeah, I'm just looking. I'm just have the trailer again.
So that's my biggest concern.
Battles.
Yeah.
Random encounter, I mean.
Thank God.
I kind of liked having them appear. I just didn't like the fact that the draw distance was about 6 fucking inches.
Yeah.
They are obviously no new animations.
And, like, for clarity, like, the Switch can do this because the Switch did it with Xenoblade 2. Like, it has big open environments and it doesn't really chug. Like, Monolith figured it out, which is why I'm pretty sure they called on them to help with all these other games.
But it's sad that their Game Freak is first party. They are not allowed to make Pokemon.
Well, no, they're not first party. They're second party. But
for
all intents and purposes, yeah, that's kind of a nitpick.
Basically, first party.
Yeah.
They are second party, but they're first party in the sense that they are tied to Nintendo and are not.
Yeah, they're never allowed to go anywhere else.
Fucking Pokemon for PlayStation.
If they're making Pokemon, it's pretty much a first party. Yeah, I know.
So they don't know how to work with the Switch because they decided we don't want to. Like, that's...
And they still haven't caught up, but it doesn't matter. Like, all this is just a massive exercise in companies just not giving a shit, and they still make it work, and people will just buy it anyway. It's peak consumerism. Peak. And I think it's a very interesting thing to watch unfold from afar. You know, like, people... And this is what I mean about Pokemon fanboys. Not necessarily even people who just buy it, right? Like, if you want to buy Pokemon, whatever. I mean, you're going to have fun. I'm not going to sit here and say the games are devoid of fun, but I think I can critique the development process, and I think I can critique, you know, aspects of the series that they have not improved on, and they objectively have not improved on over the 25 years now that they've been running this series into the ground. I think one of the biggest things is one, their lack of willingness to upgrade with the hardware and the graphics, right? There's no longer the excuse that they're on mobile or that they're pumping it out yearly and all this other
honestly,
stuff.
that was barely an excuse on the 3DS, to be honest with you.
Because they did so well on it on their first outing. X and Y, like, as a first outing, was really good. That's why I didn't have any complaints about X and Y, right? Like, other than, like, maybe the story being kind of whatever, and it being, you know, pretty short with no post-game. Like, as a first initial game, it was a pretty good slam dunk. It's just that, you know, Kalos isn't a very great region. And, I mean, that's more on the design of the game, or the you know, just the story and the region itself than the actual gameplay. And I thought Mega Evolutions at first were dumb, and I came to love it. And I really genuinely thought it added new life to a lot of Pokemon. It added new strategy.
Yeah, it brought Pokemon who were nothing into the forefront.
Would you ever use a Pidgeot before Mega Pidgeot came out?
No. Except if it was Gen 1 and there was no other flying types for me to want.
Yeah, even then, like, you know, a lot of Pokemon just ran out of business by future Pokemon, like Skarmory. Yeah. Taking out entirely a whole legion of flying types just because it's steel flying and can use, what, spikes and stealth rock?
And stealth rock, yep.
Fuck off.
I think it can learn toxic, too.
Pokemon is a literal stall Pokemon. It only needs to exist for that. Yeah. And like, And for clarity, to go back to what I was saying about the Pokedex in Diamond and Pearl, in Diamond and Pearl, Flint uses only 2 fire types, which is Rapidash and Infernape. The rest of his team is Driftblim, Steelix, and Lopunny, and all of them just happen to know fire type moves.
Nice.
In the remake, or in Platinum rather, he uses now Houndoom, Flareon, and Magmortar in addition to his original Infernape and Rapidash, because now they added there were Pokemon in Gen 4 that were introduced in that gen that weren't in the Sinnoh Dex, like Magmortar and all those like old Pokemon evolutions.
The third evolution, or
for some reason they're not in the national Dex in Diamond and Pearl, or in the regional Dex for Diamond and Pearl. So it's like, I'm just hoping that they find ways to add in abilities to get non-platinum
the thing is, if
things.
A lot of times they say a faithful remake, right? Does that mean we're gonna go with Gen 4 rules? Are we not? Is there gonna be a fairy type?
Yeah,
will the matchup? Will the moves be the same? Will we get the buffs that those a lot of moves had? I can't say, because we don't know anything really about these remakes except the fact that it kind of looks like doo-doo visually.
Yeah, graphics are never going to be their strong suit.
Well, that's the thing. Snap shows that Pokemon can look good. It's not like they can't look good.
It's a company thing. It's a Game Freak thing.
It is a Game Freak. But except it's not even Game Freak.
Well...
This is an IT company, I'm gonna call it.
I mean, Ica is Ica's like a satellite company. I'd say
they're
maybe.
They're not even a support company. Not really.
Okay.
If their only thing that they've done is
Pokemon
that the
Home.
only thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're not wrong. Like, I'm not gonna try to say like there's excuses for it or anything, but like, I guess the logic behind it is that the Pokemon company has them like basically as, right-hand men and women. So it's kind of like, okay, well, Namco obviously is going to put in work because their game is, people are not going to buy Snap as much as the new games. Like, Snap is going to be a sideshow. I wish, but it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for it because, like, you could tell they put in work to try to make this game that's already a side game appeal to people around the globe who are basically eyeing to see what the next big games are going to be. And I think today, I don't know if they even announced the next big games, unless Legends is... I don't think you're going to... Like, is that going to have importing? If either of these games have importing, I think it'll be a miracle. Right? Like, I just feel like we're never going to get a game that has all the Pokemon in it again. I feel like that's...
They did 100% say that that's not happening.
That's not... Yeah, like, it's dumb.
They are never doing that again.
It's dumb. I don't know why. The whole point of Pokemon is to collect everything, and now you can no longer collect everything in a game, and that's according to Game Freak. That's not even like, that's what they wanted to do with Sword and Shield, a franchise where the value of the franchise is determined by the number of collectibles in the franchise, which are the Pokemon, will not have all the collectibles in a single game. So then what's the point? You can never have a master save, you can never strive.
What's also actually interesting is that if let's say they copy the Plat Dex, right, the 493, which, let's just say, right, that means that they're gonna have that there's gonna be Pokemon in that game that can't be done in Sword and Shield.
Yeah. So they're gonna just, I mean, at least you'll be able to use them in a game, but
yeah. So basically, you just have to. From Sword and Shield on, every game is standalone. Don't bother with anything else.
If you import, you're just basically...
Don't bother importing. Just don't even.
Roll a dice and see if it gets in the next game is basically what it is.
There's no point in importing anymore. There's no point. It's just brand new teams every time.
Any other franchise would be like, all right, we're going to start having multiple regions, right? We're going to have big, sprawling open areas. And I just think it's really kind of dumb that Pokemon games always get kneecapped like at the start of development. They don't say we're going to do this and have to roll it back. They know from day one what they want to do and how far they want to go. In fact, even the historic tale of Iwata basically forcing them to put Kanto in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, they didn't want to do that. If it was up to them, you would have just gone into the Johto League or the Kanto League and beat it, and that would have been the game. there would have never been this massive post game. And admittedly, it was empty, right? Like, it was empty, right? Like, the originals, it was the thought that count. You know, there's new places to find Pokemon, even in the old Kanto region, right? Like, and that's why, like, it has a level of completeness, I think, that we'll just never see again. And at this point, I don't particularly know it. I don't feel that it'll be done. And there's no reason it won't, other than just Game Freak not wanting to, because everything they do is going to sell out anyway. So on a laziness level, I completely agree with them, right? Like, I totally understand it. It's like, okay, why go 100 when 50 will get you what most people don't even get at their 300, right? Like, yeah, and that's being nice. But, like, most companies will pump out games, they'll never reach this level. They won't even dream of it. Like, even Skyrim had to be re-released and ported and everything to get even close to the original Pokemon games. Like, 20 million copies might not sound like a lot, right? But, like, that's a
ton.
That's small countries right there, entire populations playing this game. And there's not, I mean, gamers are a big margin, right? But, like, 20 million is a lot. Like, GTA 5, I think, has outsold that, and Skyrim has outsold it, maybe.
Those are all single games.
Yeah.
Outsold single games.
We're talking an entire franchise.
Of all time. Period.
Imagine selling 20 million, 16 million on the regular. Like, yeah. I mean, I guess doing that with Sword and Shield makes perfect sense, right? Like, they mark up the price. It's a $60 game. Now they just made a 50% return on additional 50% for, you know, half the work. Like, we're talking, like, the margins are ridiculous. Like, to quote Anna, like, the profit margins are great.
Oh yeah, well, the profits are great because they use an indie budget when they have tons of money already.
They're raking in money. Nintendo is being funded hand over fist by Pokemon on levels that even, like, World of Warcraft probably doesn't get to. If I were to, you know, roll some dice on that, like, WoW is like 5 million people, give or take, right? At 15 a month. You know, maybe assuming that they don't do, like, the bundle savings. Like, that's a lot of fucking money. That's a lot of fucking money for a company that doesn't really pump out a lot.
I was scouring through Reddit and Twitter, and people are happy and, like, shocked. Oh my god, 3 games, except it's literally 3 different companies with the same license. Like, Mario can do that in a month if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And they how many Mario games releasing? They've released
2,
more than 3 Mario games in a year
3
before.
Yeah.
With the sides games, the sports games.
Remember when they used to have the Mario
games.
and Luigi, the sports games? Like, the DS era was really popping for a lot of stuff, and so was the Wii era. You know,
it was on multiple consoles.
Yeah, like, then not to mention the arcade, not arcade, the retro stuff they sell on the virtual console, right? Like, but, you know, like, they and I don't know, they never did that with Pokemon up until, like, the 3DS. They never did it. They never were like, hey, we're gonna resell, like, OG Pokemon stuff. And then they did it for the 3DS, and those games experienced a complete resurgence. Like, 20-year-old games literally having a resurgence because they were re-released on at the time, a dying console. A console that they were abandoning because they're moving to everything to the Switch. And they still sold out all over again, right? Like, people, they had the Celebi event, right? Like, all this stuff is now legit. And you know, they would sell games like Ranger. People I know bought Ranger just because you could get, like, Manaphy and Darkrai legitimately from those games, because I don't think you could otherwise, you know. Nope. And now the Azure Flute happened, but that you couldn't do it. That'll probably happen now, by the way.
What's interesting, actually, in these images, again, I'm just watching the 5 seconds of gameplay that they showed for for the remake. They didn't show anything about the contest.
Yeah.
Or customizing your ball. Like, I like the customizing ball.
I like that, yeah. That was another feature that was cool that never came back.
So they gotta put that in, but, you know, whatever. I don't know if they're trying to copy Legend of Zelda to this point. Like, they're just trying to be Legend of Zelda.
I think...
without the effort.
I think, yeah.
Because they fucking... The art style is very reminiscent of Link's Awakening.
Without the lighting.
without the better lighting. Also, they still don't know how to make ledges look like ledges. As I'm looking at one specific snapshot here, where it just looks like
a dirt line,
like a dirt line. Like just, they don't understand elevation still, even in a 2D game, which can easily be done, as shown by Link's Awakening, even.
just fuck my shit up, man.
It's just a repeat of the same textures everywhere. Anyway, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl look like brilliant shining turds. That's my end.
They
of
look
this
like
fucking
cookie
thing.
cutters, in my opinion.
They look like mobile games. Like that I saw on Twitter. Someone mentioned these are mobile games.
They probably were supposed to be 3DS games. I'm thinking. As the more I think about that theory, the more it kind of starts to make sense in my head.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, like, and by the way, I just did a stream of this like an hour or two prior to this. So like, or maybe it was like 3 hours ago. I don't know. So like, the more I think about it, right, is this enters media blitz is like, these really just do kind of look like 3DS games that may have been delayed. And that's not a bad thing, other than the price
but they might have been
tag.
delayed not because they needed more time, but just
To move
because
to the Switch.
Nintendo told them, "Hey, 3DS is dead. Stop now."
Yeah, I believe that's what happened. Because remember, initially there was a report that Game Freak didn't, or someone at the Pokemon company didn't think the Switch was going to work out, and so they were just like, "Well,
the higher ups in there were like, "Oh, the Switch ain't gonna work. We'll just make a fucking."
We'll just
3DS
continue doing
game.
the 3DS shit, which is how we ended up with Ultra. And I mean, that's just par for the course for them. And I think, now it makes more sense because, like, Game Freak is kind of allergic to change. They don't really like to change anything. Whatever Game Freak does, they kind of stick in their rut and they stick to their guns. And it worked. Like, again, you can't debate whether or not it works because it does. It 1000% does. But for better or for worse, graphically and gameplay wise, they never really change anything. And yeah,
gameplay, well, in the base game, the gameplay is going to stay the same forever. They're not going to change that no matter what. But they can move on to Legends. Pokemon Legends Arceus, the flipbook game, where, like I said, like I messaged you before. If all they had to do was heavy ink. Like when they do calligraphy.
Yeah.
Heavy ink, big brushes. If they put that filter on top of literally everything, their 15 FPS would look good and like a deliberate choice and would stick with the theme more.
Because I played Okami recently. And Okami has that in spades. Like,
yeah, that's the whole thing. You're using a magic brush.
Yeah, and in the whole design of the game, like even Azura's Wrath, which is a game I recently talked about, has that same sort of appeal. It's like a big, artistically rendered world. It's not meant to be, like, not, obviously these aren't realistic graphics, but it's a style. And when you do styles like this, like Wind Waker and stuff, you can start to do, like, different things, have lower frame rates, because it's more of an artistic presentation, right? Like...
Yeah, like...
It just makes more sense.
It's stylized, and it's it fits the theme even more. Where it's like this ancient time. Which, by the way, how do they have modern Pokeballs?
They don't. They have latches.
So yeah, I looked at
which was referenced somewhere. I forget where. If it was in Diamond and Pearl, they were like, "Oh, in the Sinnoh of old."
So I'm looking at the Pokeball because there is a design for it, and you compare that Pokeball. Do you remember Pokemon Forever?
The movie, right?
Yeah, movie.
Was that the one with Celebi?
That's the Celebi movie. Yeah.
I remember parts of it. I don't remember all of it.
So there was a Pokeball in it. I'll send you the image of that Pokeball. By the way, that movie came out
like 2000.
Well, not the movie. The setting of the movie was 40 years prior to present day. So basically, this is what I sent it to you. That's what Pokeballs look like.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll be fair with you. The anime's in a different continuity.
You're right. So this is the comparison between the two.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even in the game, right? You would expect that the Pokeball 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, would be more apricot looking. Because
that is true.
That's the source of the Pokeball.
Yeah, and actually, that ties in with the Sinnoh lore, because Sinnoh and Johto have a actual relationship. Sinnoh is like the peak. So one thing I actually really liked about this is that they said people came from all over to Sinnoh, which actually lines up with previously established lore. Because if you know about in the creation trio thing, apparently when you do the creation trio thing in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it shows you as being north of the map. Like Cynthia shows up and takes you north of like the map.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
Sinnoh is essentially Hokkaido.
Yeah,
it's literally Hokkaido.
It's north,
so
which makes sense. And also they had the whole thing about like the Hoenn trio was put in one land and Regigigas was sealed in another, and they like had an agreement to do that, you know. And that's like cool stuff. So it makes sense within like the first 4 regions that like these Pokemon all kind of came together. But then they're showing off stuff like Rowlets and Oshawotts, and that's not a bad thing, right?
Well, it's also very strange to me that their choices in there.
Blue Rhyhorn.
Their choice in that game is very weird to me.
I mean, it's a competition at least.
Gen 1. I appreciate that it's not Gen 1.
It's a multi-gen mix, which I think is pretty cool.
Yes. However, in my opinion, they picked the best starter, grass starter. That's I believe Rowlet is the best grass. Cyndaquil, a lot of people like Cyndaquil, fine. I don't know who's fighting out for Oshawott.
I actually kind of like Oshawott. But
Froakie
all the
or
Gen
Oshawott?
5
Let's
starters
be freaking
are...
real. Let's be real.
I
want
mean,
Froakie over Oshawott.
you can't compete.
If you want to talk about an ancient...
actually, holy shit, what?
Yes, Oshawott is
Well, no, Samurai. Yeah, Samurai.
Sure. But Greninja is just better. It's a better done of the theme. Like, the theme is just so much better. And also, Greninja is one of the most popular Pokemon of all time.
Why do they keep trying to dodge that? Like, Greninja is fucking popular. Everybody loves Greninja.
Not only did they gave Greninja the special black shiny, because that's like only special Pokemon get black shiny forms, apparently. That's what it looks like to me.
It's also in Smash.
It's in Smash. It's
Is it in Pokken?
Surprisingly, it's not.
Yeah, okay.
But it had its own special form with Ash Greninja.
And the game recognizes that, too. That it's a different Greninja.
That's an actual thing.
Not just a different ability, like, it's considered a different form of Greninja.
I understand that Samurai is the samurai, but it's a quadruped. And
yeah, that was a missed opportunity, honestly.
It's like, Greninja is more like I think they picked 2 very, very popular starters, and then they just threw in him for
Gen 5 representation, dude.
Dude, they don't... The fact... I feel like they have to make those videos at the start of every one of these, not only to be like, haha, you suck, we made all this and we won't make anything better, but also to be like, yeah, we remember, we just don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. I think that's the biggest thing, is that they just don't care to do it. And like most other games will go out of their way to like really, not, you know, obviously I wouldn't say all you should ever do is to like suck off fans, right? Like that also is a recipe for disaster.
No, you're right. They shouldn't.
But they don't ever like go out of their way to say like, okay, for the hardcore fans who like this, because they actively do things against the hardcore fans, like removing post-game and removing battle facilities and removing all the decks, right? So people who like to 100% it, which is like literally the fucking tagline of the series.
Yeah, gotta catch them. Which they dropped it and they brought it back, and now they have to drop it again.
They have to drop it because like you can't catch them all. Like in one game, you can't have them all. Like you have to have multiple different games, and you know
even now it doesn't matter. You literally can't have them all.
It's like it's
in one title.
It's frustrating that we just can't get everything in a game. You know, it's frustrating to think that like we can't just have once a generation, even just the expanded game, letting you have everything in it and just being able to play with it, right? Even that you're not allowed, and it just really is. It's just a sad state to me. Like as much as I might like Pokemon, you know, they could just have it. Like other franchises, like Fire Emblem, with 3 houses, and I always use this as the counter example because it is the strongest counter example I could think of from the same publisher with Nintendo, is that with Fire Emblem, they did everything in their power to make it both appealing and challenging for new and fans. And that, in my mind, is very hard to do when you have a series as complex as Fire Emblem. Between the relationships, the weapons, the abilities, the skills characters can have, the movement, the map terrain. Like, Fire Emblem is way more complex on a basic level than it is for Pokemon ever. And it sold 3 million. And that's considered amazing. That's record breaking for Fire Emblem to sell that much. We're talking franchises that in Japan might sell a couple 100,000, and in the rest of the world, like the West and in general, will sell maybe like 1.5 million. Like, I'm not sure how much Awakening sold off the top of my head, and I know Fates did better than that, right? But like, Three Houses in and of itself sold amazingly. And look how much work and effort they put into even just stuff like the writing and the characters, you know, making people feel not less like memes and more like...
The whole reason Fire Emblem did their turnaround was because the fire was lit under their ass.
Yeah, they were told this is the last game if it doesn't sell.
Yeah, they were going to shutter their studio, basically. Shutter their franchise. So they had to. Pokemon does not have that
fire at all. I mean, and they don't deserve it technically because they perform.
They perform very well, but there's no soul.
I guess I'm just done with Pokemon. Like,
and even this, like, there people. Okay. Does it look like Breath of the Wild? No. Does it look like any like?
Does it look like Xenoblade? No.
No.
A little bit closer maybe, but no, still not Xeno.
It's not. It's they are so close to having a style down on that, but they didn't go. They didn't go down full. They didn't fully go down. And I don't want to hear the fucking. This isn't the final game. Yes, it is. Anything Game Freak shows you is the
basically
final.
Until proven otherwise, I'm not falling for this Sword and Shield shit.
Sword and Shield, this is not the final game, and then it's being the final game. Yeah, no, visually, it's not changing.
To cite Distant Kingdom, because I love his videos, he specifically went over one this common defense, and distinctly they released a trailer for Sword and Shield. They pulled The Last of Us. They released a trailer for it after the game was out, and mainly I think it was like a week or something later. But yeah, it still said this is not final when the game is already out. Like, people already knew how good it looked and what it looked like. So like, you're not fooling anyone, and I don't get why gaming like Ubisoft does this. Everyone does to some level. You're not fooling anyone. Like, people are gonna buy this game, and then they're gonna take 5 seconds to be like, "Wow, this looks different from what I saw when I was looking at it."
The funniest thing about Game Freak, with Sword and Shield, and now this Legends game, that they have the gameplay footage not final. Which is fair. It's technically not the final build. They'll have other shit in it. But when another company does it, like, let's say Ubisoft, they do it. They're very, very well known. So they know game video is not. Let's say Siege. Let's say Watch Dogs. Whatever. Big controversy games where it's like,
oh my
it's not
god,
final. It'll look worse.
Yeah.
It'll always look worse. Pokemon never ends up looking better. It always ends up looking exactly the fucking same.
It is what you get, yeah. And I mean, on the 3DS, it's fine because you're playing a handheld. You kind of.
It's also like a 3DS, like fucking
old hardware too,
or something.
Like you innately understand on a handheld that you're not going to get the same quality, which I mean is almost evident in the Switch at points too.
Yeah, I mean, but the Switch has.
It can Mario do 1080p, yeah, like
Mario, but it has Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
It has, and that's a fucking port of a Wii U game. Yeah. It has Odyssey. Breath of the Wild looks better on the Switch than it does on the Wii U.
Yeah, I didn't play the Wii U version.
Pokken looks better. And
Xenoblade 2 performs pretty well.
Like,
and Xenoblade 2 has big ass fights.
There are more effects in, what is this game called? In fucking Sharp FE, Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE than there are in Pokemon ever. And it doesn't ever dip frames in handheld or on screen, on the in dock, like ever. There's more effects at any one time.
Yeah.
So here's my prediction for Legends. Legends will be the only way to get Arceus into Brilliant Platinum, whatever the fuck. I think it'll be the RC. You must have both games to get Arceus in the game because they didn't release Arceus originally, and they had it in the game, but they never released it.
Yeah,
I think that getting Legends Arceus will be the only way to get Arceus in Diamond and Pearl.
It's likely. Yeah, it's very likely. Also, I mean, they might pull a or an ass and make it catchable.
They might also they might make it like a they might make it like post game stuff.
Yeah, post game.
Like Delta episode, whatever. It's possible, but I don't have high hopes for them. Also, I looked up what are they called? Ilka, to see what they've done. Their website's probably being bombarded right now, so it doesn't really load very well. But I found their website, their Japanese website, and they are a support company. They have supported Dragon Quest 11S.
Nice, yeah.
So, Code Vein.
Is that on the Switch?
I've never heard of. No.
Oh, okay, so just in general.
These are just games that they've supported. Ace Combat 7.
Oh, yeah, that came out.
Steno Alice, and then a couple of Japanese-only titles. Like literally a couple.
This is probably their biggest thing, then.
This is probably why their website is half broken right now.
Because people are trying to figure out who the fuck they are.
Yes, every single link that they have on their homepage. Like, I only have this because their homepage shows off what they worked on. It's a weird slideshow thing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty... Oh, they worked on Nier Reincarnation, the mobile game.
Never heard of it.
It's brand new for Squeenix. So they're a support company. They are 100% a support company. They were founded 10 years ago, and they've just been a support company. So this is their big break.
This is their big break into the spotlight. And you can't get much bigger of a break than a million eyes on you in the span of an hour. Like
the fact that their website is busted.
It's DDoS. It's done.
Not load.
Yeah.
Not a single page loads properly.
Even the YouTube video didn't play right when I was streaming it because it was like 400,000 people are all hitting play, trying to see it and trying to, it was getting slammed.
They're getting bombarded here with I'm sure their website is getting they're like, oh man, we're getting attention, which is great for them. And I hope Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are good, but they're just gonna be I think they're gonna be too close to the original. Also, because there's one thing I personally hated about Diamond and Pearl, which I didn't finish actually. HMs were so
they could get rid of that, I'd be okay.
They were so heavy-handed. You had to have one. You had to have two. You have to have your HMs on like 2 Pokemon.
Yeah,
almost.
to fully traverse. Yeah, I'd be okay if they got rid of HMs. If they found like the usual workaround. Like it made sense in the Alola games because it's like, oh, you become friends with Pokemon and they come help you out. In the Let's Go games, you have your partner Pokemon do it, which just made sense. Whatever they need to do to get around that, I'm okay.
They just said, nah, your bike is about you only get served on your bike and that's it.
But Sword and Shield begins to suffer from problems because one, the game is basically a massive corridor simulator, and two, because there's no obstacles, there's no reason ever really to feel like you want to backtrack
exclusively.
It's like walls of people telling you to go away. And that, to me, is like, you could use that in a game to some degree, but when that's like your only obstacle, multiple times in the game, it stops being cool. Like, there's no reason to like, oh, in a Zelda game, right? You come across something in the open Hyrule field that looks like, oh, I need the claw or there's a dot here. I need the claw shot to get over here. So later you come back, you're like, okay, you've ridden by it 3 times. Now you have the claw shot. Now you can get up there and do whatever. And maybe that's all you need. Maybe you get up there and you see, oh, well, now I need the boomerang, or now I need the bow, or now I need some other tool. Like, having open worlds, and Metroid does this too, like you'll find ice and you'll be like, wow, I need something to melt the ice later, and you come back later with the plasma beam, or oh, I need the screw attack. Whatever, like that's open world 101.
That's how
it's like
an open world actually.
If it's not like a game like Assassin's Creed where like the whole point of it is like to just level up RPG style. When you have exploration and backtracking as major components, that's when you need stuff like that because it enriches the open world. It makes you say, wow, now I'm familiar with this area because I know this puzzle and I'm like, oh, well, I learned this here. Now I can go back there and do it, and so on and so forth. Sword and Shield has none of that. It's linear fight, linear fight, linear fight. And I've seen 3 playthroughs of the game, by the way. I didn't buy the game. Short. Yeah, like I know that'll be the defense is that, oh, well, how do you know you didn't play? I've seen 3 people play from start to finish.
I officially played the entire main game. That's
yeah, it. You played it. I didn't play it, but I've seen people play it. Through it. I didn't see the DLC for what it's worth.
Nobody's lying about this game.
Why lie when you could tell the truth and it's infinitely more damning? Like, why lie about it? Why knowingly make a lie about a game when you could just say, like, hey, Watch Dogs just doesn't have the graphics it fucking promised. Hey, Rainbow Six is nothing like what they showed off. And both of those games, admittedly, they still put in work. They still tried new things, and they, Watch Dogs, has a franchise, and Siege is still going on, like, so many years, like 6-7 years later. So, like, to its credit, they still put in the fucking work. Like, I can't debate them on that. I think they did a good job with that. Even though, like I said, like, people are just going to Google it. Like, it's going to take them 5 seconds to figure this shit out.
I haven't checked Japanese Twitter yet.
And the thing is that people just don't care. Like, if they just want to buy something, they just buy it.
No, people are gonna get it. Like, it's gonna sell, but
it's like COD. Like, it's just not for me anymore.
I'm curious if this game will also get the Sword and Shield treatment in terms of sales because it's the first remake on Switch, or it'll do poorly like most remakes do. But it's not even the first remake on Switch; it's the second one.
Yeah, I don't count Let's Go. Let's Go is kind of a weird thing, though. Like, I get it's a remake, but it's also like a fucking Pogo game.
I'm very curious to see how the sales would go. Legends, I think, will sell like hotcakes because it's the first time they've made a...
Yeah.
The first time Game Freak themselves have made a spin-off, it feels like, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think it is. And if not, it's definitely the most high-profile one.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a bad thing. The only other game Game Freak has made by themselves was Hometown Hero or Little Town Hero.
And Temba. People forget Temba.
What the hell's Temba?
Exactly. That was a Sega published game, though. Yeah, Temba the Badass Elephant. I don't blame you for not knowing about it. That was like Minecraft. What's the guy Notch releasing, like, Quabble Horse or whatever the fuck it was?
What?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're insulting someone.
No, legitimately, he released some game like Horse something. I don't remember what it is. And, like, nobody cared because everybody who talked about it talked about Minecraft. Tembo. Okay, there you go. Elephant. I was close. That's how much I know about these games.
Published by Sega, developed by Game Freak, released on...
Forgotten by time.
Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, released in July of 2015.
Forgotten by time. Literally thrown away. Overshadowed in every sense of the word.
You got around the 70 on...
Yeah, it was a solely average game that no one really put any attention to, that disappeared as quickly as it was announced. And I feel bad for stuff like that, but, But my biggest thing is, like, every time they've remade a Pokemon game, right? So, like, you have the original remakes of Fire Red and Leaf Green. They modernized it into Gen 3. So it had all the mechanics of Gen 3, all the Pokemon of the time. Didn't have all the forms because of some fuckery they wanted to do with Deoxys. But for the most part, like, it had everything it needed to have, right? Like, it was a full-on, fully-fledged Gen 3 game. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, literally...
fully-fledged and more Gen 4 game.
Pretty much the best Gen 4 games, in my opinion. The best Pokemon games I'd even go on the hill of. But, like, they had so much shit in it. Yeah, like it had so much shit in it that they had walking Pokemon, which hadn't been done since Yellow. They had all these tiers of Pokemon stuff to do. And it was such a great and fully realized game. Oranass, even despite the Emerald cuts, still had, like, all 721 Pokemon. And by the way, Heart Gold Soul Silver had all 493 and some additional forms, if I'm not mistaken. Oranass had everything that was up to that point as well, including Megas, all the Megas and shit. Everything was in it. Soaring was the mechanic. It didn't have walking Pokemon, but, it had everything. And again, I'm just wondering with these Diamond and Pearl remakes, if they're going to have only the 493, which I'm setting as a baseline. Right,
I think they have to have at least 493.
But you can't catch all Pokemon in Sinnoh that's in the national decks at that point in Sinnoh. They had to be imported. So like it's like
Yeah, I don't know how
250
they
some
would do that.
Pokemon. I think 256 in the Sinnoh decks. So are we talking about a game that has only 256 Pokemon in it, and no national decks for that time? If it doesn't have the baseline 495, I'm skipping it. I'm done. I guess
skipping it anyway.
like
So, what I've been seeing people talk about a lot of is that their nostalgia is going to carry this game.
it is.
I don't have any connection to Gen 4. I actually skipped Gen 4.
A lot of people quit after Gen 3, which I guess will contribute.
I just didn't get it. I never bought a DS. I didn't have the money for it. It wasn't a DS wasn't my priority at the time. My Game Boy Advance was fine. I barely even played that, to be honest. I wasn't playing games on the go anymore. I was at home playing 360 or whatever the fuck it was at the time. Like it wasn't, or the GameCube. Like I wasn't super into the DS. I didn't get it. The only thing I wanted a DS for was to play Battle Revolution, which I realized was a waste of time anyway.
Yeah, Battle Revolution kind of sucks unless you
wasn't
specifically prep for it. Yeah, you need to really prep for Battle Revolution, but it's actually a really fun game still. And people cited that a lot with Sword and Shield.
I'm sure it could be, but I couldn't play it, so I didn't bother.
People cited that for Sword and Shield as well, because Battle Revolution is the last console Pokemon game, and it looks basically better than Sword and Shield in a lot of ways. And Pokemon were appropriately sized and everything. It's like the fifth in the line of Stadium games, because they had Stadium 2, Coliseum, and XD, and
Coliseum and XD were not stadiums though.
Well, but they had the same type of models and everything, I believe. Like, it was the same basis.
They reused the models.
They reused... Oh, shit, reusing models. What the fuck? It's impossible. Never happened. Impossible.
They reused the models from Stadium 2, but they did have to change them.
That's why Jigglypuffs... Or not Jiggly... What's the one? Jumpluffs, pom-poms are squares on Coliseum, and they fixed it for XD. Because I think it was like that on the N64. They're just squares with weird textures put on them.
No, there were circles. Oh, you're talking about like the actual models on it?
Like the shadows. No, the shadows.
Oh, the shadows.
The shadow on Coliseum is a square, and I think in the 64. I mean, yeah, no one knows because no one used Jumpluff.
Stadium, you must pick competitive teams exclusively.
Yeah.
Because there's no way around it. That's literally.
But if you happen to find a Jumpluff on your team, you're greeted by square shadows.
Which I don't think I've ever seen Jumpluff in game.
Yeah, no one used it, but yeah, no, like it's the small stuff. There might be a Shadow Skiploom in Coliseum if I'm remembering correctly.
I think there is.
Yeah, I think it's in Pirate.
Like one of the lines.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's straight to Skiploom, but
no, it's Skiploom. It's in. Oh, and you can catch a Hoppip in XD, but it's rare. You have to get lucky, and even then, I wouldn't consider catching a Hoppip lucky. But whatever. I mean, sure, it could happen, right? Like it's reasonable. You're not forced to import the Pokemon to see it. But yeah, I think that's one of the big things is like Pokemon Battle Revolution was like the end of this chain of evolution of the Stadium line from the models and the style of everything. And with with Sword and Shield, like there's come on, man. Like I know that the Wailord thing is a tired thing, but like, Wailord's whole thing is that it's huge. And if you don't have Wailord be big, like the 3DS, it was like, okay, we don't have the hardware for it. What's the excuse now? Like, if the GameCube could do this almost 20 years ago, you can do it now. Like, there is none. And I'm sure now they'll address it because now they'll have fucking legends, right? Like, they can't just not have a big Pokemon like Arceus or something just get scaled down. Oh, they totally could.
And they probably will. I don't know.
Depression.
I gotta look at Legends again. I didn't see if they showed any. They did show battling, which the animations were even less polished.
Well, I think that they have Pokemon finally run up to each other, so I think we're making at least one step somewhere.
I want to see this here. I want to look at it again.
Because they had the Galad ran up to the Garchomp or whatever it was and took a hit out of it. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that was in PBR, but you know what? Again, better late than nothing. I'll take it.
I mean, I saw Riolu use Mach Punch probably. Oh my god, that Changling, that 5-frame Changling.
Yeah, that was the frame rate of it is really bad.
Yeah, so they actually move towards each other, and if I'm looking right, it seems that the area. Oh, actually, you know what? The meme about this being a ROM hack is actually not wrong because so when a battle starts, it looks like you stay wherever you happen to actually be in the world. Something that Sword and Shield did not do. But you know what game did do it? Pixelmon, the Minecraft mod. What game also had Pokemon dash at each other for attacks? Pixelmon.
Whatever, just copy paste it. I don't care anymore.
Wait,
I don't care what they
not
do.
Not official.
I don't care. Just copy it. If you need to fucking copy a fucking ROM, just copy a ROM and do the damn shit. Like it's so dumb at this point.
I mean,
just
is that
copy
not what?
them.
That's definitely what's happening with.
Just copy them. You're not gonna pull a Sega and hire these people, right? Like with Sonic Mania or whatever. Just copy the work. I don't even care. Like that's the thing about it, right? Like when you have modders that are able to do this, right? Like okay, they want to launch Pokemon Sword and Shield with 400, fine. But have some like compatibility patches, right? They already did the infection-based compatibility patching with Ruby and Sapphire to fix the berry glitch. Like, so it's totally possible that they could just have Switch consoles, right? Like if you're unpatched because you don't have internet somehow in the year 2021, and I get the patch and we trade, like it's also going to patch your game while we finish up the trade. Like that in my mind is better to do.
That oof. So
they did that with Ruby.
So the Wii, I found this out recently. The Wii, every single disc had the latest Wii version on it. Every disc that came out on the Wii, right? Every single game had the latest Wii. So if you don't have internet, you update your Wii anyway.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that Dolphin is as good as it is. Because they literally pretty much had the source code of the Wii over after a certain point.
Every time, they had every update.
Single, yes.
Every update. That's great.
So that's basically why. So if the Switch gets split open, I ain't going.
Whatever, man. Look, that's not my issue. At this point, I just want the games to be good.
So okay, I'm looking through Legends again.
People have been pirating Nintendo games forever. Nintendo's still in business. I mean, they're the easiest ones to do it. It's still in business. There's no biggie.
I'm looking at. I mean, this is the highest resolution that's here.
And I distinctly don't pirate any of my games.
I mean, there's games that I will admit I pirate.
The only game I had to actually get illegitimately is literally not on sale anymore, which is Afro Samurai 2. That is the only game I outright, in recent memory, had to fucking get.
That's the main.
They pulled it from shelves. I would have paid for the train wreck. I would have paid $5 for it. Wow. Not even gonna go on a Steam sale.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm trying to see.
That's how bad the game was.
Oh, boy, man, this. These animations are very amateurish, even with the trainer model moving.
Or just this is just game free quality. I know at this point I had to accept it.
It's unfortunate that
you remember when I used to bitch about stuff like fucking Star Wars and everything, right? Like nowadays I don't really do it much anymore because I guess I just kind of got tired of it. I just had to accept I had to accept that's the way the world is. It's a bunch of companies who video games used to be this underground thing that got really big and they made a ton of money, and then they didn't put thought to infrastructure. They just kept rolling with the cash, and whenever the cash started to go away or things started to go wrong, they didn't know what to do. Because if they did know what to do, we'd have things like virtual consoles and be able to transfer these games amongst stuff. The PS3 probably wouldn't run on fucking cell architecture, so they'd be able to emulate it on the later consoles and stuff. Like there's so much stuff that just would be done better if these people thought ahead of time. But a lot of these companies don't think beyond like whatever the latest contract is. They think only in the now. And now we're getting to a point where maybe they might be thinking a little bit ahead of the game with like Sony emulating the PS4 on the PS5 and stuff. But Nintendo is still in the fucking dark ages. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not rebuying all the virtual console games I bought on the Wii U. Like, there's no GameCube Virtual Console either, even though they have the technology and the literal tools. They have the GameCube
controller as well.
Why is the GameCube controller not the standardized thing? I mean, we're 3 consoles later still using controller. I'm still using controllers I owned when I was a kid. Like, I don't know.
I don't have the. I still have my original GameCube controller. I just don't have the thingy.
Yeah, like the adapt. Like, how do they not produce enough of these things? They know scalping's an issue. I mean, they don't
I
care
don't think
either
that they see
way
it as an issue.
because they still sell it, right? Like, but then if Joe Blow is gonna buy it for 20 and sell it for 60, because he'll put down the 1,000 to buy like however much of that evens out.
Yeah.
He'll buy out all of their fucking stock. They did it with the Rosalina amiibo. And that to me should have been like an alarm bell for these companies. It's like, well, now no one gets a Rosalina amiibo. So they're just going to have one dude, I don't know whatever happened to him, but like one dude bought like 1,000 Rosalina amiibos and probably just hot glued all of them. And just whatever. And don't look that up actually now that I think about it. But like legitimately, he just took out 1,000 Rosalina amiibos that other people could have gotten. And they just never reprint these fucking amiibos at all, as I learned to my horror. I still need Simon Belmont, Me Fighter, and I think not Isabel. There's one other one that I wasn't able to find. And think about how ridiculously scalped 90% of this shit is. Because it is. I mean, let's be real here. But whatever. The point is like, Pokemon is way behind the times, both technologically, even amongst like keeping series things updated. Like walking Pokemon, in my opinion, should have been a staple immediately after Heart Gold. It should have gone into Black and White, should have been in Black and White 2, should have been in X and Y, should have been in Ore and Ass, should have been in the Sun and Moon games.
I never cared about, like, even in the game that they were in, I'm like, I don't really care.
Well, because it adds new features, and that's one thing I liked about it.
Something, but I'm just saying, to me, is like,
yeah,
the useful walking Pokemon were in Let's Go. I think that's cool, where you could have them carry you, or you could ride them. That I liked. But if it's just a Pokemon following me, I really don't give a shit.
If it's like contests, right? Like, I don't care about contests, but that's extra content, you know?
But that's content. I think contests are actual content.
I mean, it's touches. I get what you mean.
Pokemon is not content. It is literally.
It adds a nice touch to it, and for simplicity's sake, it's not that fucking hard to do. I mean, they already have it.
But
and a lot of people like that feature because the anime is all about walking Pokemon.
They need to show what contests are like. If they don't fucking update the contest system, then the game is a bust, in my opinion.
Why would you not keep soaring in the sky like old school JRPGs where you would get the airship and then you would be able to, like, that's what I really see, like
because Pokemon is just a series of lines. That's it.
I know it's just a bunch of corridors,
it's not an open world. It never will.
Well, Ore and Ass was, but that's because that was before the shift to Corridor Simulator.
Well, no. Let's be real here. Pokemon, using a route system that they do, is just a bunch of fucking glorified corridors.
I mean, we're not going to get Breath of the Wild. We're not going to end up climbing over stuff. That would be too cool.
Oh my god. You know how annoying it is? When I was playing Sword and Shield in the wild area. My god, the fact that I can't get off of a ledge that is like 2 centimeters off the ground because it's not like where you're supposed to, like, oh, invisible wall. It's like, really? Telling me a bicycle can't go over this little ass ledge, or I can't go over, like, I can't go off the cliff, not even a real cliff, it's just a tiny, it's like a baby could make that jump. Like, are you serious right now? This is super annoying to traverse.
Well, I mean, yes, they like their invisible walls. The wild area to me is like peak showing what they could not figure out. Like it's like it's the epitome of we felt like we were obligated to have a 3D area. Here's like an alpha of what the game could have been if we really gave a shit. Because if the wild area is a good basis, but by God does it need a lot of additions and ironing outs and things like that. And I think that's probably the biggest problem I have with it, is it needs more. It needs more shit in it. And not only that, it needs to be graphically and technologically, it needs to be updated. Story-wise, it needs more stuff, because it's a good idea. It's something Pokemon's never done. I think the Legends game does want to tackle that. And again, maybe they'll fix the frame rate, right? I don't think so, because that's not how they've worked for the last however many games. But maybe they will. Like, there's the chance.
This has become my new favorite comment on the Legends game. Isn't the ancient past of Sinnoh the one where people were living with were having kids and living with Pokemon? I seem to remember the library in one of the towns mentioning people marrying and having kids with them.
Oh god, jeez, oh fuck.
Let's go. Everybody wants to
More
fuck
Gardevoir. Fuck, I hate it.
Lucario, let's go!
I hate it. I hate it so much. Stop fucking Stop drawing people fucking Pokemon, seriously.
I mean, if you look at the designs in Sword and Shield, there's so much furry bait in there. There's so much furry bait.
Galarian Ponyta is just a My Little Pony.
It's literally a My Little Pony. And I'm not even talking about, like, we got the, what is this dumb motherfucker?
More than Keldeo.
Cinderace is furry bait.
Oh. It's like Zootopia had a fucking Pokemon.
There's literally a I mean, this isn't even Gen 8. This is like, I moved from previous Gen I didn't know about. Or, it evolves because when it knows Stomp.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Serene?
Yeah, whatever the hell, that ugly grass thing.
Literally the Step on Me Pokemon. I remember when Yoshi P got a lot of trouble for saying that one of the fictional characters in 14 could step on him. Because her whole thing is that she views everyone below her as worms.
Yoko Taro would get praised for it.
Yeah, Yoshi P got, oh, you can't say that. That's wrong. If about a fictional character whose whole thing is that she, like, sees people...
Probably.
As, yeah, like he, you know, it's like her whole thing is like she sees people as like insignificant insects because her whole life people have seen her as an insignificant insect. So anyway, I remember when he got in trouble for that. Or like, you know, people were like, "Oh, you can't say that. That's wrong." In a game about literally Nazis invading Japan and taking it over. That's what we focused on. She steps on some dude's head to assert her dominance. Not even like crushes his skull, but you know.
Yeah. Other thing about Legends, the open world seems very empty so far.
See, you know me, an empty open world isn't necessarily an awful thing in my mind. Like, because then you end up with the Ghost Recon Wildlands situation where every 5 feet, or no, Far Cry 5, where you trip over something nonstop.
Yes, there's that.
You need cooldown time.
You get Dynasty Warriors 9. Where there is nothing.
Where the game literally came out and everyone forgot about it.
Well, nobody should have known it existed because it should never have existed.
And that's crazy because that game sounded like it was gonna like actually innovate the Musou formula like a lot.
They completely destroyed it.
Like climbing over walls and shit. Like imagine that in the new Fire Emblem game.
Well, that's unnecessary. You can fly over them.
Oh, come on. It'll be an early mission. You won't have Pegasus Night. But yeah, like, I don't mind open-ended stuff. I feel like, but, like, catching Pokemon's cool. This is why you can have the big Pokemon, because they could, you know, there are things in the distance. Like, I guess...
Wait, that's all nothing in the distance. Early build or not.
You're going to have an empty plane at some point, right? Like, because some places are just empty planes.
They should... I need more information on that game.
I need way more. I need to see people play it.
Anyone should be excited about either of those two games.
I'm going to wait for people to play these games first, because I can't trust what they... After Cyberpunk, you can't trust what companies will put out.
But the worst thing is, Game Freak is very forward about what they're putting out.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait though.
Still like, wait.
They might have learned their lesson.
People are still like, oh, maybe it'll get better. It's like, it's releasing first quarter of next year. Of
next year, yeah. So they're already ideally in like the finale.
Remakes coming out holiday this year because let's be fucking real. These are the most obvious points to make these things out. They say late this year, early next year. It'll be holiday this year for the remakes because it's holiday. And then it'll probably be, I'm going to say, a March release date for the other one, so that they could hit before April 1st financial year.
Yeah, so they could squeeze it in and their investors will love them. Yes. Yeah, I mean...
That's my prediction.
I need to see, like, actual, like, normal Joe Blow playing these games. Like, I can't trust fucking companies anymore to put out stuff, honestly. After what happened with The Last of Us, where they censored people who were even talking about the first fucking game. That's how ridiculous their censorship network was, and taking stuff down and hiding videos and stuff to obfuscate the fact that they lied in the marketing about characters being around and doing things in the game, to hide the fact that there was a second half of the game that they knew was fucking stupid. Like, after Cyberpunk not having console reviews, so people buying it on the console had no clue, they weren't even getting the scaled back PC game. Like, they made a Machinima last year when they had the 40-minute like mission play-by-play. That was a Machinima because that was on a different engine, you know, higher graphics, higher everything. The actual missions are nothing like that. I can't trust companies anymore inherently. Like, some companies I still trust, but like when it comes to anything I'm even remotely skeptical of, I just don't trust it anymore.
The more, in my opinion, the more outlandish the directors and team is, aka the Yakuza guys,
Yeah, oh my, bless them.
Taro, the more batshit insane they are, the more I trust them.
Yeah, because they have a lot to lose. Like small companies and smaller have a lot to lose.
Tekken guys too, same thing. I trust these guys.
Like Namco with the Tales series, I trust them in their open world because at least I know I'll get like an action RPG out of it. Like even 15, as much as I shit on it and say it's bad, it's an average game, just that you could tell that it was two different games fused together. And that's my biggest problem with it. But it did an open world for Final Fantasy pretty decently. Like there's no other Final Fantasy that has a real open world. Lightning Returns technically, right? I guess. But you're on a timer, and I view those games as like fun games, but also I look at them differently when you're on a timer. And MMOs like 14 don't count because, I mean, what MMO is a linear game, right? Like, defeats the whole purpose. 12 is, I guess, the closest, but 12 is small, and at this point is like 15 years old. God, I'm old. But like, you know, I look at it differently. With Legends, I mean, they have to start to take steps into that. Zelda had to take these same steps, so it's not like this is the first Nintendo franchise where they have to take this sort of ideas and push them into a new generation, basically, of game design. Like, Zelda had to take up side quests and equipable inventory and all this other stuff, and Breath of the Wild was far from perfect, but it did it pretty well for what you could tell was meant to be both a launch title, a series, you know, redefinition, revitalization, and a very progressive and forward-thinking game. And I think a lot of people don't give a lot of credit because they did it before like this new wave of what I basically have now dubbed Witcher clones, like games that take from The Witcher and make open-world RPGs off of shit. And Witcher wasn't the first, in the same way Ocarina wasn't the first, but it's like the turning point everyone cites. Like GoldenEye was not the first console FPS. But it's the one that everyone remembers, even though Perfect Dark is cool.
Perfect Dark.
And came out later.
Came out after, so it doesn't really matter.
And Final Fantasy VII, again, I really want to talk about Final Fantasy VII, even though this is a Pokemon-themed thing.
Yeah, there's nothing, I would have nothing to add. I didn't play Final Fantasy, so.
I'll say this one thing about Final Fantasy. First of all, that Sony Direct yesterday was basically a Final Fantasy DLC announcement. And then they announce other shit. Then they announce Ever Crisis afterwards.
Quick thing on that.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII remake thing. Why does the PS5 version look worse?
Look, we don't talk about. I don't want to talk about that because I don't have anything to say. It just does. I don't know. The lighting looks maybe brighter, I guess, which is cool.
Not even. It's just worse. It's like here's weird fog. Fog is generally used to cover up bad things.
Ask the Silent Hill devs. Literally ask the Silent.
Literally made a whole game based on technological myths. Like, and now we're adding fog. Like, yeah, fog is cool. You don't need.
You need to have a.
It's not everywhere.
God, man, like, I don't know, but then they announce here's DLC focusing on Yuffie or whatever, and some other dude I don't know anything about him, and I'm like, okay, so this is like a $15 DLC to a $60 game that's like a third of the game. Yeah, it's like a third of the game it's based off of, by the way. So they're like, this is why I really kind of don't even want to buy the next steps of the remake, because spoiler alert, I don't know how the remake ends, but I do know that it's like a third of the game. Like, it's just the Midgar portion of the game. And I'm trying to keep it out of the playthrough, right? Because I don't want to, like, shit on it the whole time for not being a full playthrough. Because it's fine for what it is, but then you remember that, like,
It's off in a fine spot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that could be fine. I don't know, because I haven't beaten it. But, like, it's still a third of the base work. Like, whether or not it's worth the 60, you could buy Final Fantasy VII right now for like $10.
Look, Final Fantasy VII Remake is basically a new game. It's a remake. It's the same vein as Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2 is more of a reimagining, they say. Again, these terms are starting to get a little bit ubiquitous.
When I say a remake is...
It is from the ground up.
You took literally nothing from the last game except characters and story. That's
it is. It does do that, yeah.
That is what a remake is. Calling these Diamond and Pearl things, I think that's a remaster. They're remasters. Diamond and Pearl these are not remakes. The first real remake I think Pokemon made was.
I'm gonna say Fire Red, Leaf Green. I think they did
That's
put
a
in
real
work.
remake. I feel like that's a remaster too.
It's definitely Heart Gold, Soul Silver for sure. But I mean, they just take the engines that exist and tweak them.
Yeah, I mean, but I was gonna like the most obvious remake is Let's Go. It's fucked up.
Oh yeah, completely from the ground up, a different game.
Completely different game.
No abilities,
no mechanics,
no held items, no wild encounters.
It's Gen 1, but with a twist.
Yeah, not a great one.
I mean, whatever.
I mean, you're right. Whatever was how I thought about it in 2018.
It's what we thought.
Because I'm like, okay, we'll get the core games.
Yeah, Let's Go was the prequel
sideshow
to the real shit.
Yeah, no,
the real shit was for real bullshit.
Yeah, Christ Almighty, man. But I mean, like that's the thing. I think that they just need to find.
Wait a minute. If Pokemon, I should realize, if Pokemon is a yearly release, right? 2021 is Diamond and Pearl. God, I can't believe we're in 2021. 2022 is Legends, but that's early 2022. Does that mean they're actually gonna make something good for 2023?
No, I don't know, man. I at this point we're talking like years in the future. I can't think years in the future.
2 years in the future.
Right, but like they're it's not like they're releasing nothing from then to now, like with Odyssey to Valhalla. It's like, okay, they're gonna release Arceus and then they're gonna release the.
Oh yeah, there's also some people talking. I don't know what do you think about the idea that because Game Freak is developing Legends themselves, that's the direction Pokemon will go for forever now. Like that's the new main line.
I don't care. Can I import my old shit?
No.
Then fuck off. That's it. I guess I'm just done. Like especially for a 50% markup, right? Because you know the Diamond and Pearl games are going to cost the same.
They're $60
as I'm pretty sure they're up now, right? Like they're up on Amazon without looking. I think someone linked it. Yeah.
I think it was on Best Buy. He linked
Best Buy might have been that too. Let's see. Can I just?
I don't know what's going on with my internet recently, man. That's been terrible.
Oh Christ! They linked me a whole bunch of shit I don't care about on Pokemon. Pokemon. What was it? Pokemon Diamond.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's not on Amazon yet. It's on Best Buy, for sure. Already a search term. Yep, yeah, $60. Yeah. Release date not announced. Rating pending. Nintendo. Yeah, I mean,
it's rated E10.
It's gonna be E10. Like, let's be fair. When there's a T-rated Pokemon game, wake me up.
E. Nintendo. They are in fact E. They're not E10 games.
Oh, they're not.
They're not. No, they are E games. I just looked up Pokemon, and every Pokemon is an E game.
Yeah, like you could. These games are all equivalent in price, by the way. Pokemon Snap is the same as Arceus, is the same as the remakes. Like, I don't want to be that dude because $60 is kind of the benchmark, but I probably don't have room to speak because I did buy the fucking Skyward Sword HD Master.
That's something that you could bitch about.
I think, yeah, I get to complain about that, but like, I mean, whatever. Like, I do know, like, because the original Diamond and Pearl were $40, like with tax, obviously afterwards. But like,
yeah, that's not important.
They had a lot of shit in them, and like, if these are just 1-to-1s, I don't think that's worth a 50% increase. That's why like the new remakes always had extra shit.
Something
in them.
Extra. We
like,
don't.
Heart Gold Soul Silver fleshed out Kanto. Like, yes. Kanto became a fully, the Viridian Forest is not chopped down because of space.
What's it called? There's a whole side story there, too, which, again, totally necessary in Pokemon, because if you just, as Sword and Shield has shown, if it's just the gym battles, it's really
boring.
Fucking dull.
There's nothing else to get invested in.
It's just fly to this town, especially because there's a loop-de-loop in that place where you constantly end up in the same city.
God, I hate the region design. I want like intricate regions that feel like they're a part of like an actual world, not lines.
I know that if Legends can do it right, maybe that'll be. I hope that Legends does
Legends
it right.
has a lot riding on it, in my opinion.
If Legends is the direction Pokemon wants to go, and they do it okay, the first time, I'm talking as okay as like
Breath of the Wild, basically.
I don't even need Breath of the Wild level, and Breath of the Wild isn't even like the most polished fucking thing. I don't know why everyone points to it,
It's for Nintendo. It's a big step forward.
Give me as polished. Actually, you know what? I'll give them smaller than Fallout 4. That's what I want. And by that, I mean Fallout 4 is reused a bunch of bullshit for a lot of the areas. Listen, I'm not asking for a lot. For their first attempt at a open world game where they have the reins loosened, where they don't have to make new Pokemon or anything for now, until Nintendo's like, oh, yeah, we need another couple of million cards, we need a couple more plushies, get on that bitch.
I mean, they could sell the same shit they have for eternity.
They can just remake. They can constantly just remake those in different styles.
Yeah, there's no rush for that.
You know, I'm sure there'll be like a fucking samurai mode or something. Like that's the new fucking gimmick, samurai.
My God, the year of the samurai never ended. We had Ghosts, Neo.
We're back with the year of the samurai.
Hoshido. Japan is really feeling themselves lately.
Coming soon.
Yeah, like. I remember Ghost of Tsushima was literally just a love letter to samurai, like just flat out.
I mean, Tsushima, the island, has gotten a tourist now. They're like,
it's what? Not. Yeah, if it wasn't for COVID, it would have been popping. COVID literally torpedoed that, which is unfortunate.
I mean, apparently Ghost of Tsushima saved part of Tsushima.
Yeah, there was an island thing that they opened up, and basically people who liked the game were like, "Yeah, we're gonna
here's some money. We'll send you some money.
Thank you for letting them base their game there. Here's some money." And it was great. Like, it actually helped with again, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I feel like they would have had a boom. Because people would love to go actually see, like, you know, if they're, I don't know how much of it's taken from real life Tsushima, right? Like, real life.
I think that
whatever.
Tsushima's actually bigger than the actual island.
Even if, right? Like, people would still go. And that would be cool.
It would go, and it would go, I mean, you would go to Tsushima, you would stay at a town probably inside the mainland.
They could even have a little event, right? Like a little thing, like, oh, here's like music from whatever. They just do what you gotta do. That's for the tourism bureau to decide. But like, I mean, they might not even have one. They could found one. It would be lit. Japan should be. Japan is awesome, man. Fucking Japan. Because in New York City, what are you gonna do?
You know how fucking useful this? You know how much this town would need this place? It's fucking near Kyushu, which there's no one goes to fucking Kyushu.
Yeah, you went to Japan actually.
You would stay in Kyushu. Kyushu's the southernmost island.
Is that the Hoenn Island?
Which island?
Is that the Hoenn Island?
No, Hoenn is wait. Yeah, Kyushu is Hoenn.
Just rotated.
Kyushu is Hoenn.
Yeah.
So it is between Kyushu and Korea, so you could stay in Kyushu, you could stay in Korea, take a ferry off to Tsushima.
Damn, that's pretty cool, man.
It's in, so this area, like, Kyushu has a big problem with tourism because no one cares about Kyushu. It's farmland, with the exception of, like, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, nobody goes down there. Like, at all. So it'd be great, and Okinawa is way further south, and that's where people go as well. But this game probably, I mean, the population is 34K approximately.
Wait, it's next to Korea? Oh my God!
It's between Korea and
my mental map of Japan was all fucking off. I had to look this up real quick. Okay, it's a good thing I looked.
Japan's weird. Like you don't realize how close and how big it is, and how small it is.
Oh no, it's big. I know that. But like, where's the Russian border actually?
Right next to the Chinese.
No, I was trying to find like the sea border. You know how sometimes they do the sea borders.
Oh.
Yeah, there it is. Holy shit! Anyway, it is actually close to Korea. I didn't expect that. Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, stuff.
That's actually a cool piece of trivia. Is that if you want to, like, the island of Kyushu is Hoenn based like Hoenn's based off of it.
It's Hoenn.
It's rotated 90 degrees, so the Hoenn world map is actually wrong. If they ever direct north is up, north should actually be on the west side of the map.
Yeah.
Because it's technically rotated, but obviously it's not appealing to look at. I know why they did it. It's not appealing to look at it that way. Maybe if you were, for a video game, you just want to get around simply, like,
it's a little, I mean, maybe it's not.
And I'm never going to Japan. I've made peace with that. There's none really for me to go there and do, really.
There's no reason not to. I mean, it's
I'm never going to have the money.
As long as you could survive the flight, it's fine.
I can't survive. I hate flights. I can't.
Yeah, it's like, the flight is the hardest part about the whole experience, honestly.
We never had a podcast where you talked about that, did we?
About Japan? No.
Oh, fuck. We should have done that ages ago. like when it was popping. Oh well, maybe someday. But
Well, it's been almost it's been over 2 years since I've been.
damn, where did all the time go, man? I'm an old fuck
COVID.
now. Yeah, well that took out 1 year guaranteed. The other year is just I'm an old fuck.
I mean, I was supposed to go last year, but I couldn't. Obviously,
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah. I mean, like, but getting back to Pokemon, like, I think the biggest thing is that Legends really is a definitely, like, let me rewind a little bit. I gotta be nice to Legends on a little bit of a level. Because on some level, they are trying to change the formula, which is something that people have yelled at them for, like, at least 5 generations now, or 4 generations. Like, it's the same game, you fight the gyms, you fight the evil team, bang, boom, you become the champion, right? Like, and I think Sword and Shield, to its credit, could not exemplify that any stronger. Is here's the gyms, there's a team somewhere, and then you blow up Leon's spot, that's the end of Leon's championship. And they could not exemplify that any fucking better. And now would be I mean, there never was a bad time. They tried to mix it up with Gen 7, kind of lukewarm response to that. I thought it was okay. A lot of people didn't. Now is the time for them to get that open world shit down. And I mean, to its credit, I think it should still have importing. All right, like whatever. It's very weird too because this game is distinctly meant to be an old school, like it's like there's something going on with like the Sinnoh love train going on right now because big games set in past and present, like I whatever's going on, I wanted to keep it doing.
Time for Sinnoh. A lot of people.
Well, not only that, like Game Freak also feels that way. That's because they could have based this in old school Kanto. Like this is a very big push for a non-Kanto region. Like Hoenn didn't even get this treatment, and arguably that's the games that a lot of us really remember from top to bottom was the Hoenn games, or almost as much as the Kanto games, which is why they have the two basically happening side by side in the lore. They had the remakes happening, like there's a lot of stuff really going on with that, and to its credit, I think that that's a pretty big step. I'm really interested to see what they do with it. My problem with it is just that over the last decade, Game Freak has pretty much soured all my goodwill to it. And I don't expect them to change their ways because when you're rewarded with money for doing something, and a lot of money, like we're talking company-wise, like ridiculous profitability, you're probably not going to change your way. Like if I got paid $1 million to sit on my ass and be fat, I think anyone would sit on their ass and run the risk of heart disease because it's $1 million a year. Like, why the fuck? Even just once, people would do it. So it's like they're very well rewarded for the decline in their product that they do. And I think that that's my biggest gripe with them. Whereas other games have to go above and beyond to sell like 20% of what they do. And that's still considered a success for them. Which is why Metroid's in the fucking toilet right now. And I'm never not salty about that. So yeah, like I have nothing. The Diamond and Pearl remakes, like I'm looking more towards as like a typical Pokemon game. Even if you can't import into that, I'm just still looking at them from the perspective of, well, will they have everything that made DPPT like very good? And if they don't have a way to get the Kanto, the Johto, and the Hoenn Pokemon in, then that's trouble. And I'm not going to be a fan of that. Because I would love to have a master save for Diamond, or Diamond, Shining, whatever, Diamond. Isn't Shining Diamond a fucking JoJo stand?
Brilliant? No.
No, it's Brilliant Diamond, thank you. Yeah, okay.
Brilliant Diamond.
Yeah, thank you,
Shining
okay.
Pearl.
It's Crazy Diamond, or is it? It's something like that, yeah.
No, Diamond is unbreakable.
That's why in my head I'm like, that's not what they called it, right? That's a JoJo reference, yeah.
They're not gonna be. They don't know what anything else exists outside of Pokemon.
Literally. They really don't. Yeah.
If they did, then maybe these other games wouldn't be as they are.
Years ago, they would have had a massive shift in Pokemon, and like you could
even
argue.
If they do it now, like Zelda is still like.
But there's room for them to have their mainline Pokemon games and to do adventurous stuff, and I think that's.
That they should. I think if Legends is done right, that should be the direction they go.
Oh, totally, with the open world,
100%. Just forget this corridor shit. Just forget it.
Yeah. My only thing is that like Pokemon is a franchise that's built itself upon maintaining your progress and using the same Pokemon.
Just delete it. It's over.
I mean, yeah.
We're done.
It's clear they could sell a Pokemon game where they don't do that. Now, they did it partially, to be fair, and they did add in the ability to have more back, but you saw how much the National Dex shit kicked off. But then, ultimately, it didn't really matter, because they sold 20 million. The average person, it just shows, I guess, ultimately they never needed to do it. The average person will just catch a bunch of Pokemon, and then they'll just sit on a cartridge until the day the battery dies. And they don't give a shit. Until the day you can no longer work with it, they don't care. And I mean, maybe you could argue it's a bad thing, but I kind of just shrug. It's like, all right, cool. Then I was on the ride while it was like a, not underground, but you know how it is when you go mainline. It's like, okay, well, it went mainstream and changed up for the average Joe. I don't really like it anymore. Yeah, it sold out. It used to be like the hood rappers used to understand the struggle, and now they're driving down Benzes, and we don't even know who they are anymore. I think that's probably my biggest complaint about Pokemon is just in general the amount of funding they pour into it is not equivalent to the product you get out of it when you compare it to like literally anything else on the market. Especially their reaction to which is another thing entirely. The lying about models and the reaction to criticism, and I mean,
we'll see what this is. All of Game Freak's. This is Game Freak's best chance to show that they're not washed up.
That their new direction is worth preserving. Yeah.
Because this is their best chance because they're not making they're not making two games.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah. They're not even making their remake anymore.
The remake is now subletted.
It's made by a support company, which is pretty crazy, actually. But like, if Legends Arceus is the most important Pokemon game, I think, to come out on the line for a while, because something's I saw mentioned one other time that no one's emphasized. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, whatever." Pokemon Legends logo is not the regular logo. It is colored differently, which has never been done. Which has never been on a cover of a game before.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's never been done.
Yeah, Pokemon's had the same logo basically forever, other than dropping the catchphrase, I think.
The catchphrase, or I think, being in Japanese, but the colors and the font style
has always been staple. So like, if this is their version of a spin-off side series, I'm down with it. Yeah. If
this is going to be I don't know, if this is going to become the main line, listen, figure out your fucking art direction, and maybe people won't shit on your fucking graphics if you figure out your goddamn art direction. Literally, heavy brush, you're done. Thank you.
And you could just say it's a Japanese cultural thing. That's it.
Because it is.
We're literally
in the Edo era doing this shit. We're in the Edo era.
Yeah, you could do just do that.
Especially because as they were showing like the Piplup and all those other Pokemon on the scroll, it was with that brush. It was the brush style. You throw a brush style overlay on all the 3D art, all the 3D shit, Okami it up, and this shit would be gorgeous. Not... Okay, let's... Oh my god, I don't like doing this. Look at this, right? This is still from the thing.
Are you going to post the Galad thing?
No. This is still from...
Because I have that, yeah.
No. This is still... It's not even a
Just
battle,
add a little bit of extension to,
So... the grass is flat. It's literally a 2D sprite that is repeated.
No, now you're making me look at it. Fuck.
So that's the most obvious thing. The ground cover is again a texture that is repeated and it's just flat grass.
And it's very noticeable.
Now imagine if all the outlines were exaggerated, especially on the Bidoof, especially on the trainer character. The outlines are exaggerated. Maybe even even extending off of the characters themselves, a la Street Fighter 4 or Okami. You put that style here, and you don't mind muddy because it's art. It's actually style. It's the choice. This doesn't really look like a choice. It looks like they don't know what they're doing. But whatever. Again, if they can get around, if they fix, there's two big things they need to fix for Sword and Shield. the fucking pop-in, and the number of things to do.
There's a lot of things, yeah. It's for textures to draw distance
and pop-in. If you have if you are just gonna be the ugliest AAA game out there, whatever. Just don't have this pop-in like if you're fucking running a 64 game.
Yeah, I mean, I think GameCube games handled that shit way better. I don't know, man. Like, I got other games I'm more interested in, for sure. I got
There's
games
one
like...
game I can't wait for next month. You're not gonna guess it.
What is it?
It's called Humankind.
Oh, I've seen it on the thing, yeah.
It's super exciting. Super exciting. Endless guys are making it. Basically gonna be a much more complicated civilization, which is all I really want.
I like how they got Switch Pro trending on Twitter.
So that's trending because people are seeing this frame rate drip and are not seeing it as them not knowing how to make a game, and they're seeing it more of
there must be a new console coming. Yeah.
These guys can't make a game. It's not that the console can't handle it. It's that these guys don't know how to make a game.
Yeah, like it's just that Game Freak is not good technologically at all. Like that's just the truth.
They don't know how to work with the hardware somehow.
They are just not good at it. And they are not good at it in a weird way, because Activision's very bad at it too, because their games are bloated as all hell, but at least they sort of run. And I'm talking about COD specifically. But I feel like it's better to just have it bloated in size, because the Switch cartridge can be fucking enormous. It's not limited to the 4 gigs that was the Wii. Switch cartridges, I think, are what, 32? These things are like basically mini micro SDs.
But they can be big. I'm pretty sure they can be 128 if they really wanted to.
Like, these things are just micro SD chips that are
they're
just
literally
proprietary.
micro SD modified, so they can make them as big as they kind of want.
But like, let's say they're stuck at 32 gigs, right? Like most the Japanese, I don't know if it's because of the tech they use or the way that they make their games. They legitimately are not big games, like, ever. And that's to their credit, because, like, Tales games, like, I was deleting shit off my PS4 back in the day. Tales of Zestiria was, like, 12 gigs or some shit. It was not big by any measure. And that was, at the time, like, a state-of-the-art, open-world, fully like, basically what this game, Legends, is trying to do, but just with worse graphics.
64 gigs, apparently.
It's like, Pokemon Sword and Shield is 12, I think, even with all the base, or all the DLC or whatever. So it's like they have nothing. Like, usually I'm yelling at Activision for taking up like 500 gigs of your fucking console on Call of Duty. This is the one time where they actually could do it. Because, like, Pokemon is like such a huge staple. Like, I don't think Fire Emblem is this big. Fire Emblem has a ton of shit in it. It's not this big. Xenoblade has a ton of shit in it. Both of them. And they're not this big. Like, none of the games on the Switch, which also has expandable hard drive with the micro SD, none of them are this big. Like, they're all pretty fucking small. Like, you could buy like an easy 120 or even a 64 and you'd be fine on your Switch, probably for life. Like, it is technically the perfect mobile console, because every game is small as fuck. And I just don't get why they don't just fully take advantage of that. Like, go all in. Fuck it. Make this shit big. If you gotta have an install period, like, you know, remember PS3 games used to have install periods of like, what is it, 10? It was ridiculous, well, like 10 minutes.
That was a bandwidth problem for the PlayStation more so than the...
Right, but if you gotta do that, then do it. People will wait 10 minutes to play the new Pokemon. People will wait an hour if it takes that long. I don't care. Just do it. Just these games, man, like, I hate to be a graphics whore, right? But, like, we're just barely...
There is a floor you must meet when it comes to graphics.
This is like PS3, like early PS3 graphics, and I'm being very nice with that. I'm being very nice with that, because
I don't even know if you're on the PS3 here, dude.
Like, that's the problem. It's that the amount of money they make.
Dude, the GameCube has better looking games. Like,
I argued that you see, we actually discussed this. We were showing off PS2 and GameCube games. I'm telling you, the GameCube was on some next level shit. And because it didn't outsell the PS2 at all, they completely ditched that fucking route. Because Metroid Prime looked way better than Ratchet and Clank. Light years better. Metroid Prime basically...
Yeah, we talked about, we have this literal discussion before.
Yeah, like, I was actually astonished looking at the GameCube version, because I was like, oh, maybe they changed it for the Wii, or well, it's really the Wii port, but, you know, on the Wii U, right? No, I just forgot how nice that fucking game looks. On some level. And, like, obviously, like anything, if you look too close at it, you begin to see the, you know, the fine details or whatever, but, you know, fuck off, man. Like, come on, like, how could... the bare minimum is not being met. It's a little frustrating. But, I mean, like, the one thing I like about Legends is that at least it appears to retain some of the core gameplay. Again, this is, like, proof of concept demo trailer shit. So, like...
Seemingly, yeah.
You can't take this at face. I need to see legitimate... I don't want to see IGN play the game. I don't want to see GameSpot play the fucking game. I want to see... I don't even really want to see, like, big streamers play the game. I want to see an average person buy the game and play it. And that's what I have to go off of from now on.
I'll probably honestly go to the same guys who made their talks on Sword and Shield. Because they've clearly moved away from... They're not illusioned by it. They have expectations and they understand certain things. So yeah. I will look to them. Actually, a good basis... funny enough, even though he defended it when the game before Sword and Shield came out, was Shofu.
I don't know what that is.
Shofu is a
Smash.
He was a Pokemon Pro player for a time, and then he did Smash stuff. He was very big in the Nintendo world, right? Shofu started Sword and Shield, and eventually was like, "This game is," like, you see throughout his stream. Eventually, at the end, he's like, "This game is ass." Like, he started off like, "Man, this ain't that bad, whatever." And towards, like, the end, he's like, "Yo, this shit is fucking ass. What the? That game was garbage."
I think a lot of people were waiting for, like, some big hook for Sword and Shield to really take off, and it just never arrives. It never shows up. I think that's the fucking crazy shit about it, man. Is, like, a lot of people were really expecting it to go somewhere, and it just never does. Because, like a lot of games that have been, you know, basically like teases, and they maybe pretended that they'll go somewhere, or, oh, it'll get better. No, it doesn't. It never does. And that's the crazy thing, is, like, look, I don't want to, like, sit here and talk about what Game Freak is doing wrong forever, but it gets to a point where, like, there's a bare minimum on certain games. Like, I could talk about the negatives of a lot of games for a long period. Like, we could sit here and we could have a 5-hour session roasting Anthem, and we did, I think, at one point.
It's dead. It's gone.
Yeah, on top of that, that's the other news. I'm basically spoiling my other goddamn podcast at this point. But yeah, Anthem is dead, and at one point we read the Jason Schreier article, where we were talking about, like, all the stuff and all the internal conditions, and basically, like, they were kicking around Anthem next. Like, you could talk about that forever, and no one will bat an eye. Everyone will be like, yeah, Anthem fucking sucks. You know, you could talk about any Ubisoft game. It doesn't matter how good it is. Just say it's Ubisoft, and no one will bat an eye, and then everything will just move on. But, like, if you want to list, like, if you want to actually, like, you could talk shit about any Metroid game. Doesn't matter how good or how bad. No one will bat an eye. You could talk shit about, like, half the Zelda games. No one will bat an eye. But for some reason, and my two favorite franchises suffer from this. Like, they have basically the most unmoving fanboy player bases. And that's Final Fantasy XIV and that's Pokemon. And these are two of my favorite franchises. I fucking... Like, Zelda games just consume everything. But at least later on, they usually are like...
Zelda games
whatever.
Have been on point for the last...
Yeah. If you get past the gimmicks, they've been pretty good. Like... Skyward Sword's a good game. It just has a permanent, non-stop swordplay gimmick that just gets boring around hour 3 or 4 and just feels like extra shit to try to immerse you, and then it's not good.
I mean, but that was a while ago. We got fucking Link Between Worlds.
For the remakes were pretty good because they patched up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Link's Awakening was good. Breath of the Wild was good.
Hyrule Warriors.
Even the fucking Warriors games were well liked. I just don't like Muso games apparently.
Yeah, like if you don't like Muso, I mean, yeah, there's no hope for you.
I thought I would, but
there's no hope for you at that point. It's
enough Muso. It's just not for me.
But it's like there is a lot to critique about Final Fantasy 14, and there's a lot to critique about Pokemon. And at least I'll say in the former's case, it's still a good game. It's still a game I would say is like a 9. It's still a very fun, enjoyable game. It's the game I played the most out of any video game in my fucking life. And if I wasn't talking about this and wasn't going to go record Nier right after, I would be playing it right now. But like with Pokemon, I just don't think that they're up to snuff at all. And I think that triggers a lot of people. It makes them really irate. But really, you shouldn't be mad at me. You should be mad at Game Freak.
Yeah.
Be mad at the people that continuously decide that like making $60 worth of content is not the priority. They'll make like basically $10 and they'll sell it to you at a ridiculous markup. It's on no standard met by any other game. No. You know, like the baseline standards for a Switch game, let alone other consoles, let alone previous games released up to like a decade or more ago. It's on no standard. It's below it on almost all accounts, other than the fact that it's Pokemon made by Game Freak on the most popular Nintendo console. And
we'll see. We'll see. And Legends again has a lot to prove. They have a lot to prove, and I hope that they can make up for most of it.
Yeah, I'll be watching both of them, but
I've already seeing
I'm
like
probably not.
They worked support on some pretty good games, but they again were not primary developers. And even if it's a remake, I skipped Diamond and Pearl already. 1-to-1 isn't exciting at all. And again, that's all an assumption. We don't know if it's a 1-to-1, but they showed nothing but 1-to-1. Usually you would show like, hey, here's the gimmick, here's the addition. I haven't really shown anything besides the new art style, which I absolutely hate. Because I mean, Link's Awakening looked better because it was almost like claymation kind of like something that exists in the real world but is toy. This is just wrong. This is like Lego, or it just looks cheap. It just looks really cheap.
Even the Lego games still have a lot going for them when they're not showing off Lego. To their credit, as much as I don't buy them anymore. But yeah. I feel the same way. I think there's a lot to see with this new direction that they want to take. It's clear they've been thinking about this for a long time. And I don't know if they cut Sword and Shield to make it, so we'll see.
I mean, if they did, look, again, this Legends is... If Legends will become the main series, or a mainstay in the franchise, I hope that their first outing is enough to sell people on it, in terms of people like me and you, where... we were burned on Sword and Shield pretty heavily. I honestly was kind of burned on Orin S.
I was burned, yeah. I was burned on White, honestly.
Well, I think White, the story did keep me entertained for it. Because I didn't care. I personally never catch them all. I never care about that. I always make a new team. Mostly because most of the time, by the time I get a new hardware or whatever, I have no way of transferring it myself. I don't know anyone, whatever. I'm not willing to go through that effort.
Yeah, so I think that's fair enough.
Every game I treat individually when I play. I don't care about whatever. So I treat every game individually. And shit, dude. If I can't look at the game for very long, like at least in the way I played Sword and Shield, or it was just Sword, but who gives? It's the exact same game. I wasn't happy looking at what I was looking at, with the exception of the designs of the Pokemon. I wasn't excited because there wasn't that many of them anyway, and most of them were really just terrible Pokemon. Their move list is so bad. The fuck?
Isn't it great?
And the move list was like, I'm like, when is one? I didn't realize that Cinderace stays of pure fire.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why they just throw in electricity on that bitch, but whatever.
They really don't like making mixed. Well, no, they do for Gen 7.
No, they do, but they always do. They have to have a secondary triangle every time they do it. They have a secondary.
Yeah,
triangle.
Now they try, but not this time.
But there's only 3 secondary triangles that exist.
Kinda.
Right?
It's like Gen 6, Gen 7. I don't
No,
know
I'm
if
saying.
Gen
Okay, sorry,
4.
I say there's only 3 triangles that exist in the
Oh,
game.
I see what you mean.
In
Yeah,
general,
something like that.
I think it's the starter triangle, the psychic dark ghost triangle, and then fighting fairy no
Fighting.
fairy dragon. No,
There's like 2.
There is no other one. I feel like
We could probably find them, but I don't think that they view them as like main things. I think they just happen to be like, you know, resistances. Just happens to be whatever. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I don't know.
yeah. I want more information on what is the new elements being brought into.
How much is returning for both of them?
Yeah, what is staying, what is coming new?
Because the importing is a very big thing. I think
that's more of a I didn't like the fact that there was no national dex because it was cut for no reason.
It was cut for laziness, and they could have added it in at any point.
This cutting there's a reason for it. It's Gen 4. They don't. I just hope that they keep the rules and typings of Gen 7 up, or now Gen 8.
They did it for the mystery dungeon games. They added in
fairy?
stuff. Yeah, fairies in it. It has moves from later gens and Mega Evolution and stuff. Like that's in Mystery Dungeon DX. So they seem to be open to that idea of
as long as they keep the new move rules, the new typings, that's something that they should definitely keep. Obviously, I think keep 493, shuffle in. Because I remember there being complaints about the fact that there were no fire types except for Chimchar, so Chimchar was kind of something you had to pick.
Or you had to work around that shit, yeah.
Like, you had a lot of trouble with, and I mean, you don't need a fire type. I think I definitely run through Emerald without a fire type before. Like,
yeah,
it's not the most necessary typing, because everything that they beat has an alternate,
So how long until they start asking for black and white remakes?
So Gen 3 remake Ornas was 14. You said, or 15?
14.
Okay, so
they're not following a great timetable.
Huh?
They're not following a great timetable with it.
It was 6 years there, 7 almost, 7 actually. I'm gonna say it 100% depends on what they're doing with Legends.
Actually, wait a minute. Do you have a screenshot of the Diamond and Pearl shit, by the way?
What shit?
The new one. What outfits are the characters wearing? Are they wearing the original Diamond and Pearl outfit? Oh, fuck off. I like the Platinum outfits. I'm a little salty.
They are. I mean, wait, there's a difference?
Yeah, so what they did for Diamond and for Platinum is they made Sinnoh more like wintry. So there's actually more snow and stuff.
You mean. No, they are wearing.
I like that outfit.
Dawn is wearing her. Yeah, they're both wearing their regular stuff, not the winter stuff. They're not wearing the winter one makes more sense. Honestly, because I know.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking. God. They had. By the way, speaking of real life things,
kind of looks like Earthbound a bit.
Hokkaido, like last week or something, had like 4 feet of snow fall in like 2 days.
Jeez.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah, that's why they made it like a wintry area. It was like, oh, look at this wintry area.
Yeah, this should be, but apparently it's not. Apparently they're keeping her. At least, I mean, from what I.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Keeping and Barry.
A little disappointing, but whatever.
What's the guy's name?
Lucas.
Lucas. Okay. It's Barry, Lucas, and Dawn.
I don't remember after that gen though. Like it's like Hugh.
It's Hugh for 5. I don't remember the girl's name.
No, there's another one for Black 2, White 2. I don't remember them.
I don't remember either.
All right.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for joining me. I have a I gotta play Nier now, so I guess that was fun. There's a lot of shoes to fill, so thank you, Mr. Double Prime, as always.
Yep.
And hopefully we can do this again in 6 months when they announce something.
Their names are very forgettable. Anyway, yeah, I looked up everyone's name and they're forgettable as hell.